The new generation and in Iran, they are still familiar with calligraphy, with the form of art that we had previously in my home country. But the new generation here in the United States as well, that they are, as I said, drifting away from the culture, from their own culture. Of course, it's a melting pot. You have to have something in hand to introduce yourself, to have your own root, to say that, okay, I'm coming from this culture and I have this in hand. I have this kind of things to present myself. I'm an artist, honestly. Since I was just a kid, before going to school, my grandpa was a calligrapher, and when I was with him, and I saw everything in all the process, and he was kind of meditation for him, and I had a really good time doing calligraphy. So that was the kind of inspires me, in some sort, to go and see different parts of, different aspects of art. Calligraphy is not an international art. If you are a painter, with a painting you can speak to all the world. All people around the world have the same, more or less the same language. We have different aspects, of course, different dimensions and different arts in different countries, different cultures. But calligraphy is not like that, I believe, from one perspective, and that's the Farsi language, because it's written in Farsi in a really good visual art, and it has its own rules, it has its own techniques. But in total, when you look at the really nice calligraphy work from visual art perspective, it's really nice, it's really fantastic. I changed my last name to Zareen. It was Zareen Qalam. Zareen Qalam means, if I want to just to transliterate to English, as golden pen. So obviously, the calligraphy is something that my ancestors used to practice. So that comes, my last name comes from there. So, again, from childhood, when you do something, it comes from inside. It's not something that, I have to be really exact, like in this form of it comes by itself. It's not something that I can do. But anyway, again, because a lot of my time was with my grandpa, and he was a professional calligrapher, so that was a really good inspiration, and that was really good. He shed light on the path that I can go in this way, and I found the calligraphy art really interesting, and I really appreciate him. As a kid, when you're 7, 8 years old, and you see your grandpa, wearing a kind of special clothes when doing calligraphy, and having special sort of pens and inks and everything, it's a kind of really good inspiration. And I was witnessing that how calligraphy affected his life to be a really calm person, really nice person, and really that was a kind of real meditation for him. Absolutely, I had no idea when I was a kid, honestly. It's a kind of from visual art perspective or from meditation perspective. But when I got older, I, figured out, and the only answer that I found was in calligraphy. The same thing, I would say, is happening to me as my grandpa. Yeah, he was a busy man. He was so busy, but I think, the same thing that I do when he had a chance to go for doing calligraphy, just to reset the mind, just to be a little bit more relaxed. That's the same thing I do in my everyday life. By doing calligraphy, I do music as well, and I do poetry as well, and that's my culture. That's something that I would like to promote, that I would like other people, actually, other nations and other cultures to come and see this part of my culture, this part of my, home country's culture. That's really interesting. I had a teacher, and he once told me that, Iranian music, traditional music, Iranian calligraphy, and Iranian poetry, they go hand in hand. There are 3 angles of a triangle, and they make a really good shape of this form of art. We had a show just a couple of months ago. That was actually a tour in the United States. A friend of mine, Shahrukh Mushkin Qalam, was the director and one of the dancers actually in that theatrical show. And Ghurda Farid was the narrator. When I say, the music part and calligraphy and poetry goes hand in hand, that's the same thing actually that happened in that show. We had 6 different scenes. The 3 scenes were just poetry, and Ghurda Farid was just reciting the poems of one of the big poets in Iran, Ferdowsi. And the next scene was just acting, dancing, and music. People, were witnessing this, that, poetry, music, dance, and calligraphy. And if you remember, there were some drapes behind this, on the back wall with the calligraphy. So that was the same thing, We had calligraphy, music, dance, and poetry at the same time. So that was one of the great shows. And I think for this group of people, this team that is really, really professional in their job, that performance is the best. So basically my audience and every calligrapher audience nowadays are Persians. And in some exhibitions, actually, I've seen some people from other cultures, Americans, from Asia or other nations. They come and see and they enjoy. But, it's not that broad, I would say. It's not broadly known in other cultures, in other nations that, we can introduce calligraphy. And if we have an exhibition, I would say over 90% of people, visitors, are going to be Persians. But my audience basically now are Persians, hopefully new generations, to, get them a little bit more familiar with their culture and what they have from art perspective. New generation in the United States and Iranian American, they are getting far, far away from their original culture, from this kind of things that we have, and they're really, I think, valuable for us to keep and to, to maintain on that side. So a lot of audiences that come in that show and that come in that exhibition or whatever event it is, they are, the average is over 55, 60 years old. So that shows something. I'm just trying to promote a part of my culture, to show a part of my culture, art, and basically visual arts, of course. And in future, I hope other nations and other cultures would come and see this art and get to know a little bit more about this form of visual art.
از در آمدی و من از خود به در شدم گویی که از این جهان به جهان